comments.
All right, I know I had one job to start it on time, and I'm 7 minutes late. I apologise. The three gentlemen you see on screen are giving me shit in the PM. The YouTube chat's going off. People are messaging me on Twitter, on Facebook. It's been a long time, all right. I've just dropped the ball, and I had to read a story to the young fella before bedtime. So it's
a clusterfuck at the moment.
Nothing's
I
changed.
took the screen down at the back, right? Because I'm doing a bit of. And my wife just casually walks in, doesn't give a shit. Yeah, good on her.
Nothing's changed from when we did the last show in grand final. Well, it was just after grand final week or something around that mark. But how are we, gents? Welcome.
Thank you for having us.
How are we?
Good.
Going good. Sounds like you were lucky to get on, Grok. Battled the migraine, pushed through for us.
Yeah, migraine. So, yeah, that fixed probably about 10 past 8. So, yeah, it's touch and go for a little bit, but yeah, good to be back.
Very good. How are you going, EJ? Bit of time trial lap work today, I see in the background.
Yeah, look, the club didn't want to say anything because they didn't want to embarrass most of the list, but I was a close second behind Taranto today. I almost didn't make it because I'm in recovery.
See, now that would be the equivalent. See, if Richmond supporters got excited by that would be the equivalent to Essendon supporters being raffed that Rancy won their time trials the year he wasn't playing. It's actually not a good thing, fellas. You don't want that happening. Min, how are you, mate? Welcome.
Thank you, mate.
At least
Sonny. I'm well. I hope everyone else is well.
Yes, Nick, welcome. Cameron, it's good to see. I do apologise as well for being probably largely absent on the socials in terms of posting, but sometimes it's good just to get a mental break from, and there wasn't much to really post about, but now that the draft's done, trading's done, pre-season sort of back, there's a few more things to talk about now. So we thought we'd do one more show before the year's out. No, I'm most definitely in the garage, Mint. Most definitely in the garage. It's where I live pretty much. CB may join us. He's just got a bit on, but hopefully he'll pop up a little bit later on. But hope everyone out there has been well. I suppose first, or what's everyone been up to in the meantime before we get stuck into some leather pants type conversation from Tiggs? What's everyone been up to?
I'm actually almost an invalid. I've done my shoulder.
Oh no!
And I'm in a world of hurt at the moment, actually. And our medical system is not helping me at all.
Yeah.
But we'll get there. This could be
good.
the time.
Well, I mean, if you're at the Tigers, you've got the best medical staff available. Just head on down to get the medicos at the club to look after you. You'll be all right. What about you, Tiggs? How you been travelling?
Oh, good. I'll just thank you, Josh. Thank you for the feedback. Yeah, no, what do? After trade time, I've been basically still haven't put the pants on, I have to be honest. I'm really bullish about what we've done, what we're going to do, and what, for next year, and particularly next year's off-season, which is getting me excited the more I'm getting fed some stuff. So, but yeah, kids are now finished on school holidays. I've got two of them on school holidays. That's why this might be a little bit louder in the background than normal. And I've got my youngest one who's really pissed off that he's still going to primary school because the high school ones are all off. But, I actually did my shoulder too, EJ. It's all better now. It's just still a bit achy. But, other than that, just living life, mate.
Very good. And Grok, anything else besides work and paperwork? You're a busy man.
Work and paperwork, man. It's getting to the end of the year, so just got to all the NDIS paperwork and end of curriculum reports and things like that have all got to be done, and then organising the staff Christmas party and things like that. So that's all.
Oh, big piss up. That's the most important job of the whole year. Don't worry about everything else. You got to get that one right.
So we decided to do barefoot bowls.
Very good.
Just for shits and gigs. So yeah, doing that at Middle Park Bowls Club.
Watch out. They'll be running amok there.
Yeah. Watch out.
G'day, Sarge. How are you, mate? Not sure if I'll be streaming tonight. Depends on what time you wrap up and how everything goes. But if anyone's on Twitch, Pink Pandas, get around us. All right, let's crack into it now. Before we left off last year, we hadn't reconvened since trade week. I know we popped out a few tweets here and there, but I think we have to address we'll go through in kind of chronological order, I suppose. So the trade period, In, Tim Taranto, Jacob Hopper, pick 53, pick 63, out, pick 12, 19, 31, and a future first. Before we get all your thoughts and everyone in chat's thoughts on the trades itself, Tiggs, I want to give you a big pat on the back. And I know you don't do it for the accolades and shit like that. And Grok as well, you had these names down to. I know you don't do it for the cloud or whatever, but to have those two names verbally, said on the show over a year ago as targets, and you were confident we'd land one. The other one, I think everyone thought that Taranto was going to be asking a ridiculously high price, but he wanted to play on Richmond's terms, and sure enough, we land both. So I just want to give a big congratulations to you for nailing that. And there's always going to be critics and haters, and that's fine. It's part of the game. But when you come up with something like that, that's pretty hard to fight against. So well done, mate. The good oil as always.
Yeah, well, I've got some more. Why not? I'll go with it now. And Grock's probably heard similar to what I heard. But yeah, we're looking for. I said it before trade time happened, right? But we've got our two targets, which I reckon is a bonus. So this off season, we're going to be pretty quiet, right? So just get prepared for that. You'll hear rumours, blah, blah, blah. What I heard is we'll probably trade out some players if we can and get currency forward. But, yeah, we've got we've got two forwards in mind. I'm going to release the name of the first one. But, as a consummate media person now, I'll release that name towards the end of the show. So we keep the listeners leading on. But, look, you'll be happy when you hear it. I'm pretty adamant that it will break in the media because I'm sure they're watching it when they do their research. But we're balls deep in this forward. And I'm not saying it's a lot by any stretch. It's early days, but it's been going on for the past 9-10 months. So, sorry, my son brought a dog, and he's a great dog, but he's spastic. He just barks at random because he can't get to me. He's barking. So I apologise.
Going from Grok's cat to Tig's dog.
Yeah. But yeah, we're getting a forward. It won't be next off season. I would be amazed if it was. It's not. We won't have the currency, but it'll be the season after. So beautiful succession planning with Lynch still being in his prime. We're getting towards the tail end of it, and Jack Rewalt probably giving it up by then.
I won't say the name that we spoke about.
Know who it is. Yeah.
Is it still that same person?
Yeah. I've got permission. I can announce it, so I will. Yeah.
Tonight or later on?
What? Whenever you want me to tell it now, or do you want to do it later on?
No, do it at the end. Do it at the end. Drag it out.
Yeah, all right. You ready? All right, we're going for
King.
We're going for King. Mark it down. It won't be next off-season, but we're going hard as King. We will know this off-season, though, if he hasn't re-signed. If he hasn't re-signed mid-year, I would think, then we'll know. That we're more likely than unlikely. That's generally what happens. That's why I was so adamant on Hopper, even when the Taranto news broke. So I think, the Gold Coast lad.
Gold Coast, Ben.
Ben King.
That was the clue about looking up north, not my CCJ gag, which everyone took literally. My goodness. Shout out to the Richmond Journey for throwing me under the bus. Matt Allen, well done, mate. You really torched me there.
Yellow and black, it's been in the pipe works for a while, but it's generally my mate. Gold Coast knows our interest. That's what I know. That's a stated fact. So they're in the process of trying to fend it off, but we'll see if they're successful. Look, I hope he comes. He'll be a perfect Phillip for us, but we'll see what happens.
No, it's not.
So
Wayne.
Wayne.
No, it's not.
It's not Wayne.
Yeah. Wayne King.
And Son, Jacob Kosicki is on our radar. He's out of contract, potential trade option next year, depending on what they want from him. Same as Jake Riccardi from GWS. He may come cheap, so we'll have the currency for him.
All right, so I think I need to put this down as the 5th of December. That King is the first time it's been mentioned, and like you said, straight off the bat, Tiggs didn't say that we're getting him. He said we're expressing strong interest in having a fair crack at it. So a lot to go under the bridge. But if talk starts to arise that maybe he's looking to move or whatever, then shows there's a bit of merit to it. But that would be huge.
Yeah. I heard that Kaczynski talk this off season. I thought, is there a slight chance maybe this off season? But I've heard that as well. So we're obviously on the same page.
That's what I was going to say. Even I've heard that. I've got a mate, sort of Hawthorn, and I've heard Kaczynski.
Yeah.
So there you go.
mean, when you start to hear from multiple sources that don't know each other, that's when it becomes interesting, I reckon. Oh, we'll watch this space. But on the acquisitions of Taranto and Hopper, we'll get a quick feel around the room. What does that mean for the club? I mean, to me, it feels like it's going to have a huge domino effect, chain reaction, whatever you want to call it, that's going to spread throughout the whole side, EJ.
Yep. It gives us the ability to play Dusty mainly forward. Our rotation is heaps deeper. It takes the pressure off the upcoming guys like Sonzi, allowing them to develop with better players around them. But just adding two to our rotation. One of the things that I know when we had a couple of injuries was we'd be in games up to a certain point and then we'd fall away because we just didn't bat deep enough. This is huge. And look, I've been talking to CB. I am so excited about next year. I'm ridiculously excited.
And Grok, obviously, Presti has been our main engine room player for the last few years, and it's no coincidence when he's gone down that we've kind of struggled to fill that gap just because of the type of player he is. Now we've got Taranto, Hopper. We didn't lose Graham, even though there were options explored, so we still keep him as well. Does that give us room to maybe even look at resting Presti at times? Are we going to more play manage him? How many options does that open up for us?
Absolutely. I say with Prestia and Koch, I wouldn't be surprised if they don't play interstate games at all. They just say you play the Melbourne games, any interstate games, just stay home, rest up, do all the prep you can for the next game. So I reckon those two play probably max 16 games next year. But the thing with Hopper and Taranto is I think it might indicate a shift in game plan slightly. And I think we saw that in the last few weeks of the year where we sort of did become that more clearance and contested-based side. It was almost like a trial to see how those two players would fit in. So I wouldn't be surprised if we do become a much better clearance side this year. I think there was a bit of a shift in focus of the last 6 or 7 weeks of the season. So I do think those two will really help out because that was where we did get smashed a lot during the season. So bringing those two players in to rectify that is going to be a massive bonus for us this year.
And Tiggs, we've all seen the news today that Taranto has come out and won the 2K time trial straight off the bat. You talk about having a positive influence and setting a good example to your new teammates. That's unbelievable for him to come out and just knock that one off.
Yeah, we spoke in the offset. We spoke a couple of weeks ago, 2-3 weeks ago. My mate, who's in the industry, he said a couple of things to me. But guys, got to realise this. Why I'm so bullish about 23 and 24. This year, even though we had injuries in the midfield, we had our backline injuries, and we had our issues, we led in every game, every single game, midway through the third quarter. No other team can say that. We led in every single game. And in 17 of those games, we were in front in the last quarter. Now, what it's actually done getting these two boys into the side, we've now got Taranto with as well as pressure that can literally run up and down all day and create that midfield work rate and chaos. And then you add Hopper. We can put him as a defensive mid. We can put him as inside extractor, get the ball out, and allow. I'm not a subscriber of just Dusty forward. I'm more on Dusty on the outer ring of the midfield to use his kicking because his kicking when in contest is brilliant. It's sublime. To hit up a forward, to hit up, to spread the game. And we're going to be able to do that. And we'll be able to alternate him and Shea Bolton as we go along. So it's a huge impact for us. It's going to shore up our defence because our two midfield runners, our midfield as a whole, won't have to work as hard. So that means our backs will be able to defend because our midfields will flood back. And more importantly, our transition work from defence to midfield to forward is dead set scary in how quick it can be. And no, it's fantastic. It is. It really, really excites me. And that's another thing, put Dusty. I'd put Dusty centre half forward and he floats high up to that outer ring in the midfield and it floats in. So, no, we're going to be injuries allowing, obviously. But now, if we do lose Prestia, if we do lose Koch, if we do lose Graham, or something like that, we've got now that nucleus or core quality midfielder still in there that can give us drive. So, and I can't wait for the effect having these mids and the overall team effect it will do to players like Soldo, Nankervis, when they're rucks, when they're actually tapping it to a context or actually winning it. And then I think you get the real value, and Miller, for example, these three different types of rucks can actually cause for our dynamic of our side. It's going to be exciting.
Well, the other thing is, you're going on that depth and knockdown effect, right? So we're deeper in the midfield, and I'm with you, Tiggs. Dusty sort of 60-40, 70-30, whatever, right? So if you've got either Dusty or Sonzi in the forward line, right, behind Lynch and then Rewalt and then Dusty or Sonzi, Cumberland and Morris-Riley Jr. are getting the fourth and fifth defenders. So the knockdown in that respect too means that we should be more deadly up forward.
Yeah. And you didn't even mention Bolton. That's how deep it is.
Yeah.
You didn't even mention Bolton is our number, for me, on par with Dusty. That's how scary it is.
Yep.
Just for Tiger Tabby with Taranto as Brownlow lock, he's paying $67 at the moment, so load up.
Oh, that's an early call. No, that's I agree with the Dusty playing more forward than midfield. I think it makes complete sense. Him with the ball in hand, 75, 80 meters out, is a scary prospect for opposition because he can either burst through and have the shot himself from 55, 60, or he's going to kick it deep into a really dangerous spot, and he moves it quickly. So I like that. And we're going to get to Dusty a little bit later, but it was good to see him pretty happy and buoyant up and about today, the first day back, even though it was a running session, albeit. All right, we'll move on to the draft period, which has obviously just been and gone. Caleb Smith was our first pick 49, 181 centimetre defender from East Fremantle. He was a little bit injured in 2022, missed the under-18 rep football, but played some good school footy, a dashing halfback and great athlete. Now, I know there's a lot of Tiger supporters up in arms about why we didn't pick a key forward, and when sort of talking to Tiggs and he mentioned what he mentioned, it made sense why we didn't pick a forward, because we probably feel like we're going to require one on the trade front, whether it is Kazitsky, King, whatever it might be. So they didn't want to, burn a pick and just they went for other needs. But Grock, I'll start with you because you were when you were messaging me about Caleb, you were pretty pumped that we got him. He was one of your favourites in this draft.
Yeah, absolutely. He was my favourite player in the draft. And it's funny because Richmond do seem to have a knack for taking my favourite player in the draft. And it's weird. Bolter was one, Bolton was another. I'll put my hand up. RCD was another one who was my favourites, and he hasn't turned out so well. But the thing with Smith was it was his injuries that stopped him from playing, the under-18 carnival, the championships, that stopped him from being a top 20 pick. Like, he's got all the tools to make it. And I understand that a lot of people were shitty we didn't draft a key forward, a tall forward. But the thing is, what's a first-year key forward going to do if Jack Revolt or Tom Lynch go down? They're not going to make any difference. And plus, we've got Ryan, we've got Nguyen, and we've got I can't think of another one, but we've got a couple of blokes who are already, a few years ahead in development VFL who are going to get games over their first ones anyway. So yeah, the whole.
CB, how long have you been sitting there for? Because I realised I have to scroll down to see you're even there. I had no idea.
Just been watching about 5-10 minutes. Fantastic. Great show, guys.
Very good. No, very good. Sorry, God, carry on. We'll get to you in a sec, CB.
Yeah. So Bauer was the other one. So we've got Bauer and we've got Ryan. We played Nguyen up forward for the last 2 or 3 games at VFL level, and he looked promising. Plus, we got Miller, who can go down there. He's shown that. Plus, we got Gibcus, who was trialled down there. And heaven forbid, Bolter, if it comes to the worst-case scenario. So there was really no need for us to take a key forward. And plus, with the picks we had, they're likely not going to be a very good player anyway at pick 50. So we took the best available player in Smith. And the thing is, yes, we may have an abundance of halfback flankers and rebounders, but he addresses the weaknesses in a lot of them. He's a lot more defensive and contested than what Short is. He's a lot better with the ball than what Mansell is. Plus, he can go forward as well. He played his school football as a half-forward flanker, so he's got that utility run as well. And they believe he can go through as a midfielder at times anyway. So he's going to be a very, very good pickup for us.
Yeah, I think he will be. Now, Min, yes, some insight would be great if you can share what you know. Just so for context, Min actually does scouting for multiple AFL clubs at a reasonably high level. So with a lot of research and data, I hope I haven't revealed too much there, Min. But if you've got any insight surrounding our picks and where it all went and landed, feel free to send it through. But CB, welcome, mate. I apologise for not seeing you down there on the bottom of the screen. How are you, mate?
Good, thanks, mate. I was late anyway, so don't worry about it, boys. Yeah, ignore me. Keep going with the show. I just come in to say good day. So, yeah, keep rolling, lads. Keep rolling.
All good, all good. Did anyone else have any thoughts or comments on Caleb Smith before we move on to Steely Green?
Yeah, look, just to touch on the forward. Like we don't pick. We use the talent. We used to draft always for the best talent. So that obviously there was any forwards we would rate to draft by that stage. That's why we didn't do it.
Draft for talent. Trade for need.
That's right. So we're using. I think it's something. I forgot that we've got that young forward that's come in. To trial a position. That's what you'd use those speculative. You don't think they. It's a big question mark on them. That's what but has obviously AFL traits. That's why that was a smart pick too. But that's the reason why we didn't go. If there was a forward there, I've got no doubt that was talented, that we believe was a big slider, we would have gone it as a priority. But no, there wasn't.
And EJ, how important is it for people to not get caught up on when you see the word defender when we're talking about under 18 compositions? Like, I saw a lot of people get hung up on it. Just because they play defence in their junior footy doesn't mean that's where we think they're going to play. They might, but it doesn't always mean it, does it?
Yeah, I mean, we drafted Asprey as a forward, didn't we? That's why we gave him the number 12.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
these things happen.
Yep.
But just on Caleb Smith, I'm going to back up Grok's thing. I've been saying this to CB. All his markers were elite, but he was injured. We got Graham cheap because he was injured. These things actually happen. And I've got massive faith, not only because of all that, because of where he comes from. WA. Our record in WA is off the charts. Like, we sent that message in the chat. Rance, Conker, Stack, Broad, McIntosh, Baker, Bolton, Pickett, Miller, and now these kids, we don't have many misses in WA. And the same guy has been over there since 2010 that does work for us, Sam Cousins. So he's obviously seeing things that other people aren't.
Yeah.
Give him a raise.
The other thing, EJ, is everyone got hung up on the size of our people. They're another 180 centimetre, blah, blah, blah. It's like, doesn't really matter, mate. If they can find it. Dion Presti is like 4'2", isn't he? He's out of Willy Wonka's factory. He's that small. He seems to go all right.
But I mean, you have a look. Even some of the smaller players these days are ripping marks. I mean, say what you want about Castagna, he's pretty solid overhead, and he's only 182, 183 centimeters. Height doesn't necessarily mean anything these days, especially with how quick the game's being played. So,
all right. Pick 55, we went with Steely Green, 179 inside mid from the Waffle, South Fremantle, averaged 18 disposals and 4 tackles, captain WA. Min, you've come up with tough inside mid, loves the contest. Shame he was injured, missed the peak times of the youth footy, played for South Freo, very clean, tackling, and he can run. So there's some obvious traits there, Tiggs, that we identify with drafting these days. It almost feels like kicking skill is secondary now. We've actually kind of reverted back to maybe more of an athlete who, they've got a sound footy base, obviously, but we don't rely on hitting elite targets like the Hawthorn, prime teams do. Getting it forward, you don't need that elite skill set. So if we go for that running type and that tackling machine type.
Yeah, agree. What's good is because we've got such a clear, defined system of how our we like to play the game. When it comes to draft, we look for the best talent that can fit that system, and they're the traits that we go after. That's why the height issue, like CB said, is pretty immaterial for me. It's, if they can run, can they carry the ball? How are they instinctively aggressive? Are they competitors? But more importantly, can they work a selfless role? And each of the kids that we've got and each of the kids that we've picked up along the way have that trait. Funny enough, the only one that didn't have some of those traits was RCD. In relation to, I don't want to highlight them, but didn't have all those traits. I don't know why. Maybe we were so desperate for mids, we went that route. But yeah, I'm pretty excited about all of our boys, to be honest.
I think the RCD pick was more his upside. Like if he had all the tools together, because he was very similar to Bontempelli in that he was extremely raw, but had the height and the speed, the breakaway ability, and things like that in the NAB 18 carnivals that I think we wanted to take the punt on.
Gotcha.
I think
EJ.
I think Green also screamed Richmond man. When you look at his attributes and what he brings, he's that real solid citizen type. I think that Richmond likes to bring in as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I saw the article with him where he was saying that he loves the contest, loves to tackle, hit the man hard and stuff. And the first thing that I thought when I read that was Koch, when he changed his role to not so much getting the ball, but hunting the man and setting up the team from the midfield, setting the example. And just in the way that he sort of moves and attacks the ball in the midfield, he very much reminds me of Koch. And if he can be half the player that Koch has been for us, we've got a good one.
Yeah.
Not sure what you're getting at there, Jack. It's one thing to run, but it's one thing to be able to run hard both ways and apply yourself in the correct manner. And they don't necessarily need to have skill. Everyone can obviously run, but it's the patterns and the way they go about their running is more important for our game style than just being able to run, if that makes sense.
And more importantly, can they execute while fatigued? Can they burst run? Can they repetitive sprint? Can they maintain consistent? Some of our players, Camden's a perfect example of this. He's not the fastest guy at the club, but he can maintain a high level of speed consistently across the whole entire game. That's why people can't go with him as longer the game goes on. So the game's evolved into a running game.
It absolutely
and all teams are copying it.
Now, EJ, in the rookie draft, this must be the first time that I can remember that we took 2 live picks in the rookie draft. Maybe it's happened a bit more frequent, I can't remember. But Tyler Young, 196 centimetre key defender from our VFL side, looks to move pretty well and has pretty strong hands. Is he a bit of a likely type, long-term project player? Or does he have an immediate impact potentially?
I don't know about an immediate impact. I was doing the best side, starting 22 for tonight, and I've probably controversially left a pretty big name out of the back line. So I don't know if he's going to make an immediate impact, but, solid citizen, great backup, absolutely. I mean, I say he's not going to make an immediate impact, but we picked up some bloke in the pick 60s named Broad from WA who I didn't think was going to get a game, and he's a 3-time premiership player. So don't ask me.
No, he looks all right there. And the last one from the rookie draft, CB, Seth Campbell, 182 centimetre, clever and crafty forward from Tassie, which is another area of the world that we tend to draft a few players from with a reasonable amount of success. And he had a game where he kicked 10 goals, 6 and 32 disposals at North Launceston. So, look, that's where, I mean, you wouldn't expect him to play ahead of Bauer. I'm not sure, but good to see just a forward picked as in case of emergency backup if the absolute worst happens on multiple fronts.
How old is he?
Good question. I didn't write that down, how old he was. But
Seth Campbell.
I'm just thinking he sort of reads a bit like Lloydie, doesn't he? That crafty.
There's a crafty Sam Lloyd, yeah.
Yeah. That's what he reads a bit. I don't know, to be honest, I don't know enough about him, to be honest. But
Campbell is still 17. He doesn't turn 18 until the 29th of this month.
So
he's a bottom major. I remember
we're putting him long term in. So that's fantastic. Well, if you're kicking 10 snags and 10 your footy at that age, you can obviously go okay.
So he missed out for next year's draft by 3 days. So he's a very bottom aged player. So. But yeah, I was sitting there watching the rookie draft and I'm like, we haven't drafted a Tasmanian yet. Like, when's the Tassie boy coming? Because it seems we've drafted one every year for the last 3 or 4 years. And then when it comes up, I was like, there it is. There's the Tassie
There he
boy.
is. Saved him till last. So, I mean, overall, not a bad haul. Good to stock up the picks. And that's why, like, you look at the kids we've got coming through, and that's why I wasn't really disappointed that we traded away the picks we did to get Hopper and Taranto, because we've still got some good young kids already in the framework. And then this next lot will be able to sit behind them. There's no pressure on them to come through at a ridiculous rate. They can just ply their craft in the VFL. And if chances arise, they take it, hopefully. But I think that's a good spot to be in, EJ, because, you know, all of us would remember it wasn't that long ago that players at these picks we would all of a sudden be turning to for games and answers to a lot sooner than we would have liked.
Yeah, absolutely. Our depth is off the charts, so we can afford these projects and these picks.
All right. In other news, it obviously came out in the media that there's a couple of players still training with us to get that mid-year spot. Narkle, long time coming. We obviously flagged that we had interest in him a couple of years ago. Then Geelong put a bit of a larger offer than we maybe anticipated, and that secured him at the Cats, and they didn't end up playing him for whatever reason. So he's training with the club, as well as young Bradkey, who's a large unit, and amazingly not the son of Mark Bradkey, which I still find quite staggering given the surname. It's pretty unique. But Tiggs, have you got any info on the Narkle situation? Obviously, we know he's friends with Bolton. But I honestly, once he got delisted from the Cats, I really did think that he was odds-on chance to be in Perth in some capacity, just given that's where
I thought he was going to be a Gold Coast. That was the rumour, was he was going to go up north. I thought it was pretty well set too, but yeah, to come to us, look, do we have depth for him in the role that he's played? Do we need another? Because he's an inside mid. He's not endowed with outside run or speed from the contest. Look, he's a good player, no doubt. I reckon he's got a heap of potential. But good luck to the kid. But I've got nothing. I've got nothing. We've got he's a lock or anything like that. Nothing at all.
Tiggs, would having a guy like Narkle train with us in the way we've recruited at the draft, etc., does it set us up for, if we are targeting a key forward next year, to maybe lose a half-decent on-baller to help bring a need back over into the club? So,
yeah, it could. Also, his age bracket. His age, we don't have many of, particularly in the guts. We are either really old or really young. Other than Graham, we don't have. That's why Short was such a positive influence when he went into the midfield, other than his skill set. But it sort of tempered the inside, the midfield a little bit, and got it working because of the. So that's an important aspect. And could we be, look, Graham, obviously with the Port thing, and that obviously hasn't happened. Next year, is he has a great season? Can we sell him off? All I know, and I believe where I've heard this from, we are looking at trading Currency in. Obviously, we've got a big target in mind, but not just for that. So we want to trade in. We want to trade in Currency. So Canuck will be a part of that. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. Obviously, as the year progresses, I'll know a little bit more detailed. But yeah, it could very well be. But he's got to show value, obviously.
I tend to agree. I'm not sure where he fits in. Now that we've picked up Taranto and Hopper, I think those two are kind of almost put a really hard end to him not fitting in unless there was injuries. And if he's happy to play that role and play in the VFL unless something pops up, then I think that's okay. But the question then becomes, EJ, is longer term Bradkey going to potentially offer us something of more benefit than what Narkle would?
Yeah, it may be. I honestly will put my hand up and say I'm not as across Bradkey as, I've just learnt what I've heard in the last few days. I do have concerns on Narkle though, and I don't know what you put it down as, whether you put it down as hunger or competitiveness or whatever. I don't know if anyone else has got any info in that regard, but that's my concern on him. And I'd go on.
Sorry. The thing from what I've heard about Narkle down here is he became very disillusioned with the Cats because he knew no matter how he played, if he got a run of 3 games, no matter what the end of 3 games, even if he had 40 disposals every week and kicked 3, he was still going to get dropped. So he was just apparently he was just going through the motions at the Cats and wanted to get out of there. That's why he's asked for a trade the last 3 or 4 years, because he just got sick of knowing that he was never going to be a long-term option for the Cats. It's more just a plug and fill player for them. So if that's the case, I really don't see us picking him up, because that's just a poor attitude, and we generally don't take players like that. But
and
with
he'd be in the
Bradkey,
same situation.
Yeah, with Bradkey is a very big boy. He's 195, 196 centimeters and 97 or 98 kilos. But he's a very, very mobile player. Very, very athletic. Can run up and down, push up to the wings, sort of like what Lynch does and things like that. So I do think we will go Bradkey, because our VFL forward line isn't the strongest, especially with the talls. And I do think even if Bradkey doesn't play AFL football, he's still going to strengthen our VFL side. So,
okay,
interesting. So based on that, gentlemen, is it a quick answer around the room? If you had to pick between the two right now, who would you be taking, Tiggs?
The one that shows the most, it's going to sound so weak of a reply, but it's the truth. I don't know much of the other player. Look, the one who shows the most talent is what I'd go for.
Grok?
I'm sort of on the fence, because as they talked about, if we are looking to offload players next year for draft picks to come in, then you'd probably go Narkle if we're looking to trade out a mid. Correct. But personally, for me right now, I'd take Bradkey. I think he offers us more overall in terms of where the list is than what Narkle will.
EJ, I'm sort of similar to you in terms of minimal info on Bradkey, but who would you go?
Going on what Grok said to me, I'd take Bradkey.
CB?
I'm going the other way. I'll take Narkle, just to be difficult.
Narkle. Just to be difficult. I can see the reasoning behind doing the Narkle, but I would probably take Bradkey as well, just from a longer vision perspective. But I get why you would want Narkle as backup as well if we're planning to trade people out too. So it's a bit of a catch-22. But again, a good problem to have. So nice to have some reasonable quality players training with us to pick up another spot. I haven't got this name written down, but I'm assuming that Sydney Stack's completely out of the picture. I know a few people have asked in chat sort of where Stack is at. I don't think he's anywhere, if I'm being honest. And I don't like saying that, but have not heard his name pop up in any sort of footy talk at any club, let alone ours.
Yeah, no, I heard some disturbing, I won't say it here, but I heard some disturbing news. So I doubt he'll be picked up by any club.
Yeah, I know Geelong looked at him for about a week, and then from what I heard, their interest dropped off extremely quickly. So I'm not sure if that was, as we're alluding to, something may have happened or something like that. But I know Geelong were interested in him at one stage.
Yeah, a sad story. As we all know, talented player, but just obviously couldn't put it together when it counted. On to another talented player. Morris Rioli Jr. has now picked up the number 10 from Shane Edwards. What was a really nice sort of changing of the guard, I suppose you can call it. Personally, I'm actually shocked that he took it, because I know the number 49 did have links to him and his dad from earlier football days, and then obviously Daniel's got 17. But it's nice that Morris obviously holds Shane in that kind of high regard as well, to feel that that's a special enough number to take on board. But looking forward to what Morris is going to offer us this year, CB.
Cannot wait to see him absolutely rip it apart this year. Really excited for what he can bring to the just the dynamics he brings to that forward line is off the charts. And the fact that devastated that Shane Edwards has gone to Adelaide. So well done, Adelaide. You've got an absolute champion there. But number 10 for Junior, terrific. And I think he is going to have a very, very, very good season. Very good season. And it looks like he's bulked up a bit too. He's actually a bit thicker through the chest and arms. So
yeah,
he's put a bit of time in, which is good to see.
It was funny on the boards. They were giving it to him because he looked a little bit chubby, and someone did a Photoshop with him with a huge gut. And I forgot which post it was, and hopefully it's in the audience. I was going, is that Photoshopped? It couldn't have come in that condition. Is that really Photoshopped? Oh, it was funny. It was just funny.
I think he's going to be a play that's going to definitely up the ante this year for us.
I wouldn't be surprised if he does start spending a bit more time through the midfield this year, especially because he spent bursts through there this year, and with an even bigger tank, especially with Bolton. I wouldn't be surprised if Bolton and Rioli switch when they need a break.
I've heard this from a source within the club, right? Obviously, they're going back to. I've heard, and anyone players here listening, I'll go on this. No, he's going to be challenged to be all that pressure, the chase and tackling. He's going to lock it in forward 50. That's where he's going to be using that extra tank. Like he'll chase defenders out, but he's just given that challenge. If people remember 17 with Butler and Costanza, they used to worry sides. He's been given one of those challenges. And the reason for it, what I've heard is we've got a couple of small forwards. We want to get Banks and Brown in, and we're challenging him to keep up with him as he does his attacking. So it's pretty exciting.
Can I just say, speaking of Indigenous football's come back, has anyone seen the images of Cosy Pickett from Melbourne? He is jacked.
He is.
Shape.
I haven't seen that, and I'll have to try and find that.
Mate, he looks unbelievable.
Yeah.
I'll say he looks fantastic.
I did see Clary's shit haircut.
Yeah.
I'll have a shit haircut and a rig like that too, mate.
Mate, if it's possible for Oliver, he's got a worse do than last year.
Oh, Jesus.
Still disappointed on you, Remington, not reporting on the touchy there, mate. He went missing on that.
You know what surprised me? A guy that actually didn't look too bad with his haircut and he's fucking ruined himself is Langdon. Have you seen him? He looks like he stepped out of a concentration camp. Like he's emaciated, he's got no hair.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'd just like to introduce Yee to the podcast, 2024 nominee for the US elections.
Back to some footage that we saw today. How do you come back from that? The other player that I thought for us looked a lot bigger through the upper body was Gibkis. He looked huge in the arms. Yeah. I'm not sure how much iron he's been pumping in the off season, and I hope that, you often see players put on that bulk and then it ends up slowing him down in some capacity, but I'm hoping that he's doing it at a rate which he can still be that intercept aerial beast. But he looked quite big, and Hugo, as to Nick's point, it sounds like young Hugo is putting in the hard yards early. Same with Jack Ross, and putting their best foot forward in all the running drills.
Ross was the one I was going to bring up. He's stripped some serious weight off, so clearly he's gone away on a program. And I'm curious to see what role the club's got in store for him in the new season as well.
What would everyone do with Jack Ross? Would everyone be comfortable to have him in the 23 or whatever we are at now with the extra players?
Absolutely. I mean, with his last 3 games he played, he almost played that Ross role as that Lambert role as that outside flanker going forward, and he kicked 3 goals. So I do see him in there. I'd have him in there over Graham. I think he offers us more than what Graham does personally.
Oh, big call.
Ooh, controversial.
He's hitting the scoreboard, which Graham isn't.
But Graham's benefit is what he does. I don't know what we have to talk about. Like when he played with his dislocated shoulder, his pressure, his tackling, his selflessness where he creates others into the game. That's how I mark him. He creates goals. He also gets score when he's played forward. Get the 5 goals in the 3 goals in the grand final, multiple bags of 5. So, I think that's a big call. But look, a brave call.
Yeah. With Taranto and Prestia in the side as those 2-way running mids, where does Graham fit in that? Well, there's no need for a purely defensive mid now.
No, but there is role for there is a role for a selfless mid. Someone that sacrifices their game for the better of the group. Look, I'm always a big believer in that. You get more out. That's why we get more output on role players, and hopefully we're going back to that. But look, in saying that, I'll just say that to you again. Where's the spot for Ross? You can't play him forward. Our forward line stack. You can't play. You put him in there. He's just a C grade forward. Midfield, does he offer more running, more defensive tackling? No, but look, I disagree with you. I hope Ross makes it. I want him to make it. He turned the corner with Ross last year. He really showed that he's got his an AFL footballer. So I hope he stays in the side.
I promise you, with 2 weeks to go before round one, the amount of punch-ons that are going to be on social media and boards as everybody tries to pick their best 23, it is going to be – I've tried it. You're going to leave some seriously good footballers out. And the moment someone sees your team and says, you haven't – it's going to be on for Donkey Kong. Just trust me. It's going to be –
looking forward to these best 23s tonight.
What's that, mate?
Looking forward to these best 23s tonight.
It's bloody hard. That's all for the right reasons. It's very hard.
And another player who's going to make that even more difficult. And let's not kid ourselves. This is like adding another draftee into the mix again. Is Dustin Martin returning to what looks to be peak physical condition? And obviously had a pretty tough year last year with injury and his dad and all that kind of stuff. So it was just really pleasing to see him out there day one, smile on his face, having a laugh with the guys, getting amongst it, and he looked in good nick. Now, Tiggs, I did ask you the other week if you had heard anything about Dusty. What did you sort of mentioned about that he was doing quite well.
Yeah. Now, look, he dropped. He's everything that came out on the article is basically what I said to you. He's a proud bloke. He's going to remind people how good he is. And he's super keen to get into it. And the thing I said to you, the most important thing, what I'm hearing is he's super happy. He's in a good place. And that obviously is going to show. I think he really disconnected from the club in the off-season from what I've heard. He wanted to get away and refresh completely, mentally that is. And so when he comes back full ball. So I think, look, will we see the best of Dusty? Well, look, people do age. They do start to slow down. But he's the perfect cream for the crop for this side. I'm super excited to see what he's going to bring.
I'm going to say something that's going to upset the board. I was having a sauna session. That's why I was a bit late. There was a Geelong supporter in there. We got talking footy. He told me Dusty's finished. I'm not bullshitting you. I said, who do you go for? He goes, Geelong. I said, enough said. I can't go down this rabbit hole. Jesus. True story.
Dusty's.
Did you ask him if he was on big footy?
Probably one of their
his name was Shadow 89, Shadow something.
Was it Harrow lad?
Good old Harrow.
That's an incredible call that Dusty's passed it. But I mean, just play him as a forward, and the beauty of him playing, hopefully unimpeded, is that last year we learnt to win games without him. There's now zero reliance upon him being a monster factor within the team. So whatever he does do is, as Tig said, just the cream on top and just adds another dimension to our side. So very happy to see him back up and about running.
Absolutely. And I think you can see that in the photos from the training session today. I mean, the photos of Dusty last year when he was there, the smiles on his face looked a little forced. Like it was almost like he was really uncomfortable. But the photos from today, you can see he's genuinely enjoying himself. Just that whole face is lighting up and big, massive grin from ear to ear and stuff. So it's good to see.
Oh, there's no doubt, Jack, that he's going to tail off at some point, undoubtedly. But I think the point we're trying to make is that Dusty we will hopefully see in 2023 will be far superior to what we saw in 2022 for a wide range of reasons. But that's not at all trying to say that he's going to be the Dusty of 2017, 18, 19, because that was just next level kind of stuff. But if he gives us 70% of that, I think that's going to be better than a lot of other players in the competition. But
absolutely, Aaron. We don't have to go to Sydney to watch him. Fuck you, media.
The guy's 31. He's not fucking in a wheelchair.
Yeah. No,
I challenge anyone. Have your kidney busted in half, lose 10 kilo, try and come back and play an elite physical contact sport, lose your dad. He was on a hiding to nothing last year. So don't judge him. Last year was just an aberration. Write it off. And my expectation is we won't see 2017 Dusty clearly, but I think he's going to prove a point this year. I'm very excited for what he's going to bring to the table.
I think so too. All right, well, we'll finish off with some possible best. I wrote 22, but it's actually 23. Pardon my ignorance. EJ, I feel like you're the best prepared for this because I know you like your stats and reasons and all that kind of stuff. So it's going to be controversial, as CB said. People are going to get left out. It is what it is. So we have to assume that everyone is fully fit. Who is your best 23?
Rightio. First things first, Tarrant doesn't make the cut.
Yeah, great.
Right?
Yeah, I agree.
He is outstanding depth for us, and will never let us down when he comes in. But he doesn't make the cut. Hugo doesn't make the cut, but I can see. I know what I want Hugo to be, and I do believe that he will, by the end of the season, be best 22. I'm not sure if he starts. And Ross didn't make my 23 either. I've got Baker, Bolter, Grimes across the back, Rioli, Gibcus, Vlosten. All this Gibcus preseason talk. Gibcus can play one of the pillars. That's why Tarrant can. What? K-Mac, Prestia, and Pickett across the middle. And I do expect Hugo to take a wing during the year. Dusty, Jack, Bolton, half forward. MRJ, Lynch, and Cumbo across the forward line. Nank, Hopper, Taranto in the guts. Miller, Sonzi, Short, and Broad on the bench, and Graham as the sub.
Well, it's going to be hard to argue anyone's view of that, but I agree that Ralph Smith long term is 100% going to take one of those wing roles at some point.
Yep.
Whether it's good though because it keeps Pickett and McIntosh honest, doesn't it? They've got to keep putting in the hard yards.
Hand up. Is Marlon Pickett? I've been his biggest I've been his biggest supporters for the last 3 or 4 years. Is actually Marlon Pickett an automatic start this year? That's something. I don't know. What are people's thoughts out there? He's probably, I think K-Mac is, but is Marlon, well, one of those guys, K-Mac and Marlon, are they actually automatic starters this year?
How well are we situated? Yeah. How well are we situated if one of them isn't and that Hugo is? It's great.
Did you leave Cochin out knowingly, EJ?
Yes. I don't think he's best 22. I think he'll play half the games of the season. We'll nurse him to 300. He'll probably play round one because it's round one. It's Carlton, but best 22. I'm not sure.
Yeah, fair enough. On the Pickett front, CB, based on last year, I think he's a lock to start. He was our best player many times. In the first half of the year. But I think the spot is also, up for grabs. He's going to move on at some point with his age and whatnot. But I think with his hardness, his pressure, his overhead marking, he gets first crack at it.
He's versatile too.
Oh, he is. Grok, do you have a 23?
I'm just going through it now, so give me 2 seconds.
Tiggs, you got a 23?
Sorry, mate, I wasn't paying attention. What?
Do you have a best 23 for what you think it might look like?
Oh, for me, you know what it is? It's Graham.
That's the one that's up in the air?
Yeah.
What's your preference?
Graham for me.
To play in place of who?
No, well, for me, the 23rd, he goes in based on the 22. So he's the next cab on the rank. I don't think he'll be in the starting 22. I reckon Pickett will. But, yeah, he's my 23rd player. Great.
Yeah, fair enough. There's going to be some unlucky people to miss out. CB?
Yeah, so I've got Baker, Tarrant, Grimes, Vlosten, Bolter, Rioli. I've got K-Mac, Martin, Pickett, Cumbo, Jack, Bolton, Rioli Jr., Lynch, Sonzi, Nankervis, Prestia, Hopper. And on my bench, I've got Taranto, Broad, Short, Cochin, and Miller. So Gibcus doesn't even make my team. Neither does Jack Ross. Look, it's so hard. I don't think Jack Graham's in there either. Like, what do you do?
It's really, really, really hard.
I think, yeah. I sort of lean towards close to what you said, EJ, but I would, for the start of the year, controversially, I would probably have Koch in for Sonzi initially, but I think there will come a point where Koch undoubtedly intentionally will miss 3-4 games, maybe in a row, just to keep him fresh for finals. But Sonzi's going to be a player, but I don't know. I don't know whether you're going with the known quantity in Koch to hit the ground running But it's a headache, and I think Miller has to be, from what we saw on the back end of the last season, our second ruckman. I think that gave us a much better balance all over the ground, and it also, and like we said during the shows this year, Miller, if his direct opponent runs forward, we're covered because he can defend. He knows how to be a defender. That's what his role has been since his inception at the club. Whereas Soldo doesn't have that luxury. He's a bit more, lumbers a bit more. So I think Miller's a lock for second ruck as well.
And I've got mine here.
Yep, go for it.
So just a quick one. So I've got Floston, Miller, Grimes, Rioli, Bolter, Broad. I think Miller will be our fullback this year. Pickett,
Really?
Prestia, McIntosh. Yeah. Bolton, Lynch, Rioli, Rewalt, Martin, Cumberland is our forwards. Nank, Taranto, and Hopper. And then I've got Koch, Baker, Ralph Smith, Ross, and Short. So for me, Sonsie misses just. It was for me between Sonsie and Short, no Graham either.
Yeah.
Those last three spots for me are between Short, Ross, and Short, Ross, Sonsie, and Graham.
George Canopoulos has an outstanding team.
Which one was that?
Did you make it?
Oh, yeah, I saw that. Yeah. Ken Kingsley,
Ben Marsh. I just
Adam
threw up.
Houlihan, Clinton King.
Hey, no knock on Alan McKellar. He was a good golf partner.
Stephen Jackson, stiff. Centre forward. Yeah.
No Relton Roberts. What the hell?
A few people have floated, and not just now, but earlier in the show as well. George Castagna Tiggs. I'll get everyone's thoughts. Where does George fit into our side now? Obviously, we've got Morris, who's another pre-season under his belt, looking a lot better. Where does Georgie fit in, if at all?
It's a tough one, isn't it? Because I've always been a defender of George with the chaos he brings, but this year he really, I don't know, got on the nose. Where we were crying out for him to bridge the gap when we had those injuries, to have that leadership on there. He was just running around in circles. He was turning the ball over. He lacked complete confidence. And the longer the games went on, the worse he got. That's how I found it. So it's a big season for him. I wish him all the best. Look, do I think he's a good player? Of course I do. Do I think he adds to our mechanism of chaos and luck? Yeah, I do. But he's got to desperately add another string to his bow. Instead of just getting the ball, doing that round 360 turnaround while he's got the ball and just dashing off. People forget this is a guy who had 5 shots on goal in the grand final. He can
6,
yeah. So he can be dangerous. He's just So I see him I see a spot for him in the side, but I see he's got to earn it.
Yeah, it's between Cumberland and Castagna, and Cumberland is a better finisher. I think that's the only thing that's separating them at this point, is that Cumberland is more reliable.
Well, he wasn't he? Like the shots he had, like was it the North game where I think I'll say botched loosely an attempt, and then the next week he kicked a winner, held his nerve, and got on with it, which is a good sign of mental strength from the young fella. So I'm looking forward to seeing Cumberland and how he progresses, and I really hope he was the one I was worried that was going to miss out when Lynch and Rewalt were both back into the side at the same time later on in the year. But he'd obviously done enough to keep his spot, and I think, as you alluded to before, I think it was EJ, that with the best 22 we can potentially have in, he's going to benefit massively from getting a lesser-like defender. He's tall. He's a very hard matchup size-wise. He's strong, good turn of foot, and like you said, Grock, he can finish. So he could actually be a bit of an X-factor for us.
I hate using the term, but he's almost a hybrid forward.
Yeah, no, that's a fair call. I think he is, though.
He reminds me a bit of Mitch Morton, and I know that's a bit of a dirty word, but he's just got that in-between height, that awkward matchup where he's good on the ground, but he's also good in the air, so you can't... It's that awkward matchup of who do you go to him, because the tall he's going to outrun, but a small he's going to outmark in the air, so it's a very awkward matchup.
Geez, I'm glad I went with hybrid instead.
Yeah.
But I get 100% what you're saying, 100%.
But just on George, apparently he's taken a real shining to Steely Green. And apparently there was photos of him today giving him some advice and stuff. And I'm just sitting there thinking, please don't be advice about goal kicking or anything, because Like, it's the one thing we don't need.
Can someone ask Astro Mary where Tiger's going to finish up in round 3, please? How are we looking now?
Delete.
Mary, who's your best pick for the Richmond for the Brownlow?
Taslotto numbers. Come on, Mary. The lift.
It's a tough gig. There's a few people in here who have a bit up in arms about Koch missing out on a couple of best 22s, but that time's going to come at some stage, isn't it? I think so. I think he's still definitely got something to add at the moment. But yeah, it's tough going.
So that's actually something that I did have written down as a defence of some description. From what I saw from Sonzi in the final, I just don't want him playing VFL. He's it's almost like he stood still and let stuff happen around him. He's got that calmness in heat and under pressure that I just love.
And I think you mentioned Tiggs. Yeah, he was in the finals. He was unbelievable. I think it might have been Tiggs that mentioned in one of the earlier shows that he's the type of player that he's going to learn more and get better quicker by playing AFL rather than playing VFL.
Yeah.
And some people are just like that.
Yeah, I was quite a defender of his. He's one of those, like EJ said, he creates his own time and space. He's not Pendle's level, but he does. You could see he's thinking for the right decision while he's under extreme pressure, and they're rare. So he doesn't just react. He anticipates what's happening around him, and then he makes his decision. And he's going to be a 200+ game player if his body's holds up his class. But boys, I've got to bail. I'm sorry if I'm being distracted the last 15 minutes. I've just had a couple of shit go on at work. I'm just reading the emails. They started just firing in, and I better get off so I can fix it. Get on, handle it. So
all good, mate.
Merry Christmas, everyone. Because if I don't get on this now, I'm going to pay for it in the morning. So I might as well get on. Because I'm using a bloody work computer. That's why.
All good, mate. No, I appreciate your content all year. I hope you have a great Christmas with the family. And just to recap for those who have just joined, the name that Tiggs has dropped that we're having a red-hot crack at, you might have missed this, CB, is King from Gold Coast, who we're expressing strong interest in. Not to get next year, because we obviously aren't going to have the currency for that, but we're going to have to generate currency for the year after. Now, that's not saying he's a lock. It's just saying that we're showing very, very strong interest in having a red-hot crack at him. But, yeah, Tiggs, all the best, mate. I hope you have a great Christmas with the family.
Merry Christmas, Tiggs.
Stay in touch.
Take care, boys.
Merry Christmas.
All the best.
All right. And then the only other thing we wanted to raise was, you sent it through before, Grok, just I suppose more of a pat on the back to the club for raising $220,000 for the Alana and Madeline Foundation. So I know we're not the only club that does charity work, but it's always nice to see those things printed and acknowledged, that the clubs are doing good things to help great causes. And I think we did. Yeah, Lucas, we dropped the names. I think that's a bit of a wrap, unless there was anything else anyone had to add.
There's a little mini bloodbath.
Is there?
There is.
Oh, okay.
Now, I have a mate, and no names here, please, CB. Okay, we don't name the club. All right. I have a mate who is a really, really, really good friend of a senior AFL coach. And the AFL, the petty, pathetic, insecure little whiny men at the AFL releasing the round 1 fixture when the Socceroos are playing in the round of 16 game, get over yourselves. There's room for more than one code, more than one sport. I know for a fact that the clubs actually got the fixture days before it was released and were told to hold it until that time.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Right.
Yeah. That's a bit of a dick move. The
AFL now want to be here 365 days a year. They couldn't let another sport have their moment in the sun. Really pissed me off. Anyway.
Fair call, EJ.
Yeah, the fixture email to clubs went out Wednesday night about 9 o'clock. So they were holding on to it for nearly 5 days.
Yep.
Which is absolutely bullshit.
Yep.
Why release why release something like that on a Sunday morning at 6 a.m.? Why not wait until Monday when there's going to be press and everything there? It's just stupid, arrogant, and just petty.
Sorry, Step. I'm not across that part of it. Did they actually release it at kickoff time?
Yeah.
They did.
Like, it was published publicly
6 a.m. Yep.
At 6 a.m.
6 a.m.
Wow.
Sunday morning.
That's terrible.
And
That's
we're
a
shocked.
bad call.
We're shocked that Gil McLaughlin's a shit bloke. I'm shocked to be sitting here.
And how surprised are we that he's staying on for a little bit?
Oh, just had to be. He's had to go buy a bigger carpet, mate, to start sweeping shit under, mate.
That's terrible. I had no idea they dropped it at that time. I didn't see because I was watching the soccer, so I didn't see it at all.
Apologies for getting a bit vitriolic at the end, but it really ground my gears.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I'm just
all right,
quickly on the fixture.
I didn't get into the umpire betting scandal.
Yeah, controversially, I'm not a fan of us playing Carlton round one. I still think it should be the grand final rematch. I think it's just, it's been and gone. But anyway, it is what it is.
Who wants to watch Geelong open the season? Ugh.
I know. It just makes sense, though, I think, the grand final rematch. But I'm glad you actually mentioned the Socceroos, EJ. I know we are an AFL podcast, but how good was, honestly, the support and the effort those boys put in that campaign? Like, a lot of us were adamant that they weren't even going to score a goal, let alone win 2 games and score in all of them. I thought the Socceroos did everyone pretty proud. That was an outstanding effort.
It was awesome. And, as a sport, they don't get anywhere near the funding of the bigger codes. If they did, look, we're seriously only 1 or 2. I'm invested in soccer because my son plays a lot. He got up at 3 o'clock and went down to Melbourne, Fed Square, Sunday morning to watch it down there with his mates. They had a dad drive him down. We're only 2 or 3 high-quality players from being ultra-competitive on an ongoing basis. No squad has a full bunch of players. They've got 2 or 3 guns. Argentina is Messi and
everyone.
Yeah. So, it's awesome.
Yeah, massive shout out to Harry Sutar, though. Without him, we would not have progressed out of the group stage. There is no chance in hell.
We should have drafted
in the Premier League, Harry.
He was Ransass in 2017. Like, that level of defending, was just insane.
I'm trying to get the name Big Haz up and running because that's what I've been calling him. For those that don't know, he plays in the Championship at Stoke.
He's been off much longer.
Yeah, I'll wager anything he's playing in a top tier league next season.
100%. Yeah, he will be there without a doubt. All right, I think that's a wrap for the night. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us tonight. Much appreciated. Thank you to everyone for tuning in. I know it's a bit of an odd time to be doing a show in December, but it did feel right to have one more before the year was out, given that trades had dropped. So obviously, the draft had happened and trainings recommenced, and there's a lot to get through and talk about. So it was great to catch up and talk Tigers. Oh, hang on. Sorry, I just saw this pop up. That would be a great outcome being a Tottenham man. I would be very happy with that, Nick. But no, great to have another show in before the end of the year. So, my dad's listening. Hey, Dad. Thanks for listening. Hey. They always say they listen, but they never comment. Well done.
Hasn't spoken for 5 years, but there you go. Thanks, Dad.
I'll see you tomorrow night. But yeah, thanks for jumping on, gentlemen. Thank you for your year as well. I know it's a long year when we're doing one every week, but I think it's been good having the extended cast just to fit varying shows. Some weeks people are there, some weeks people aren't. But I think it's been a very good vibe and a very good atmosphere for the show, and we've created something special. And the audience, as always, we love all your support, your comments, and all your tweets. So make sure you keep hitting us up on all the socials. I'm going to try and over the next few days put together my best 23, and I'll post it so I can get publicly slapped in the face for me leaving someone out at some point. But I hope everyone has a great Christmas break and be safe with your family and friends learning the technology. Are you watching it on the TV, Dad, or on your phone? I hope everyone has a great Christmas. Stay safe.
Can't go until he tells us.
Yeah.
I know. Be responsible.
Your dad's not an arc umpire, is he?
Well, his mobile phone's probably got the same type of camera clearance, like visibility that the Arc has. But no, thank you all for your time this year, fellas. Much appreciated. There we go on the TV. Have a great, Chrissy, and we'll speak soon, no doubt. So enjoy. Hopefully you'll get away and have a nice break. And CB, good luck coming out of retirement. Johnny Farnham with your cricket.
Don't even go.
One sore man. You'll be very, very sore.
Horrific.
But all right, thank you so much, guys. If anyone does want to keep chatting footy in any capacity, feel free to follow us on Twitch, Pink Panthers. There's a few of the Tiger guys on there. Watch us play Jerry Gesser or FIFA or whatever, if anyone's a gamer out there. But happy to talk footy anytime with anyone. Have a great night. Have a Merry Christmas, and we'll stay in touch. Go Tigers.
Merry Christmas, guys.
Go
Go,
Tigers.
Tigers. Merry Christmas.